I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. Where is the Garden of Eden? Or maybe I should say, where was the Garden of Eden? Well, from the study of the ancient book of Enoch, Enoch visits that garden. Gary Stearman is here to discuss with me, where is the Garden of Eden?
From his perspective in a celestial transportation vehicle, Enoch describes Jerusalem in a very detailed way that makes it easy to recognize. And then he moves eastward out of Jerusalem into the deserts of Arabia, over toward perhaps Afghanistan, somewhere around the Persian Gulf. And he says, Enoch 29:1, I went to another place away from the desert, approaching the east of these mountains, and there I saw trees of judgment, especially those that emitted the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh, and they were not like ordinary trees. So he's moving off into this, if you will, giant rainforest to the east. J.R., if you go there today, all you see is desert.
Yes. Well, he describes a rainforest here in chapter 28. It's just amazing. As he describes this, we look at the deserts today and we know that under that desert's all that oil. They had to have something there in ages past to make all that oil. And according to Enoch, it's there. Now he moves across this to what he calls here the Eritrean Sea. And Gary, this translation came out of Ethiopia, so evidently to the Ethiopians, everything water to the east of Ethiopia was the Eritrean Sea.
Right. In fact, they refer to themselves as Eritrea, and there's no doubt that they took that name from the book of Enoch.
Yeah.
Now, this area, the Eritrean Sea, features a location. And Enoch says, and I came into the garden of justice. Sometimes this is translated garden of righteousness. And I saw the mingled diversity of those trees, many and large trees planted there in attractive beauty, and large and beautiful and magnificent. Also the tree of wisdom. Eating of it, one learns great wisdom. Doesn't that sound just like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?
Yeah, so what he did here in the Eritrean Sea, he went over the Persian Gulf. He went from Jerusalem across Arabia to the Persian Gulf and turned north and went up the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley to the Garden of Eden. And I would suppose that Eden sets somewhere just north of the Persian Gulf there. It may be a wide area. Maybe all that area was once the Garden of Eden.
It's fascinating that most of the peoples of the Middle East have some historical idea that that's where the Garden of Eden used to be. This is certainly confirmed by the book of Enoch. And J.R., where else are you going to find the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree with that forbidden fruit? And by the way, the fruit is described, and it's a very interesting kind of fruit, isn't it?
Yes, it is. By the way, if you go up the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley, north of the Persian Gulf to this day, you will come to Baghdad, to Babylon, and then 50 miles north to Baghdad. So the Garden of Eden was somewhere in Iraq.
Apparently so.
And he comes to this tree of wisdom, and he says it's like the carob tree and its fruit like the grape. Well, let me tell you, folks, the carob tree was used and still is today to make candy that tastes like chocolate. So I can just imagine, that, and then there was the grape used to make fermented wine. And so here's this gorgeous beverage and this beautiful chocolate truffles. I can just see Eve saying, "Oh, I got to have some of that."
You're talking about a confection here, crunchy on the outside, soft and chewy in the middle, and boy, you can't turn that down, can you? Except
No.
that God said, no, you shall not eat of that tree.
That's amazing. And then chapter 33, they lift up from the garden and they move on then across the world where he sees, listen to this, great animals there. One different from the other, and the birds differed in their appearance. So they're moving across the Jurassic Park of the ancient earth, and they're seeing the dinosaurs and the, shall we say, the woolly mammoths and what have you. as they proceed on. Well, this is a fascinating study. You can get this, by the way, in our magazine, the April 2009 edition of Prophecy in the News, our study on the book of Enoch, where they go to the Garden of Eden. I hope you will. You can order it today. Just call the phone number at the bottom of your screen. Or you can subscribe. You can subscribe right here on the website. You can notice, please, that you can get 4 free books or 3 free videos. Just click on the magazine cover just over to my right here on the website, and you can see how to subscribe. I hope you will. Gary?
Well, J.R., the bottom line about the book of Enoch is this. It's written for us today. Although it was penned thousands of years ago, it tells about latter-day events, and I think you'll find it very interesting.
Yes, because we find in chapter 1, verse 1, that it's written to the people who will be living in the tribulation period. Fascinating study. I'm J.R. Church and Gary Stearman. Until next time, keep looking up. We'll see you again tomorrow with our analysis of the news.